Hey guys, welcome back to another video today. I've had some things on my mind recently. So some things that I want to talk about, or the main thing I want to talk about today, is seconds. And I know at first that might seem strange to talk about seconds, but the reason I've been thinking about it so much is because in yesterday's or the day before's video, I was talking about the moose that I found in the woods that had died, and it makes me think about seconds because in that video I was talking about like the fragility of life, but how beautiful that kind of is in a strange way. And it kind of made me think about, like I said in that video, how we don't really realize it because we're so comfortable, but um, because human beings are sentient, we're kind of understanding of our own like mortality, I suppose. And because of that, I think it changes a lot of things. Like things like that moose could never see the world the way we see it because of the fact that we just have that different viewpoint that it never will be able to access. Never. And to be honest, I think that seconds is kind of what I want to focus on because it's something you don't realize is passing, you know. And when I say seconds, I just mean time, you know. Seconds lead to minutes, lead to hours, lead to days, lead to weeks, leads to months, leads to years, you know? And it's just like you don't even realize it, but in the blink of an eye, it feels as though like I continue to pass through life. It's almost like to such an unprecedented level that I can't even really explain it. A lot of the time, I feel like I kind of get lost on this like autopilot mode. And I guess sometimes, very rarely, I'd say, is that fine. Like maybe if I'm working or something like that. But the reason I don't like to go on autopilot 90% of the time, I'd say, is because they're all important things, you know. It's important to learn from experience and to just use everything we've been going through, and everything that we have gone through in the past, also reflect on it and to learn from it. And I think a big part of that kind of comes from being really conscious. The thing is, some people just aren't like that, and or we're all not like that, honestly. To an extent, some of us are always stuck on this autopilot mode. Some more than others, and some less than others. And again, I understand it's completely. It feels natural, but in all actuality, it's not because when you're on that autopilot mode, you're not really fully aware. It's kind of just like you're letting your subconscious rule your everyday life. And I think when you really realize, you get these brief moments of just like full consciousness where you're kind of just like, how did I get here so quick, you know? Like I remember when I was like things when I was 8 or freshman year, even sitting in my government class and just thinking like one day I'm going to be a senior, and now I'm here just like that. And it's crazy to think that time can just pass that quick. And the reason I talk about seconds is I want to say, like, basically, my point is don't let it escape from you. Stay like fully conscious as much as you can. It's a practice that I like to do and that I've been doing recently. This past year, the most. Junior year is kind of end of junior year is kind of when I started this, and the reason I did it is because a lot of the time, like I said, I found myself on that autopilot mode, and I realized all like the great experiences and memories that I kind of wasn't able to fully indulge myself in because I was just on this autopilot mode. And I just felt like it's something that I wanted to escape from. Um, it was kind of in a way, it was almost like a shackle, almost like a chain that I needed to break. Um, because as comfortable as it was to kind of go on autopilot mode, so I could kind of, whether it was just to escape from reality or things I wasn't comfortable with, or it was to kind of just make time fly faster. And I feel like it's easy to fall into that part specifically, just letting time kind of fly past because sometimes it's boring. Not gonna lie to you, but the thing is about that is it's okay to be bored. Sometimes you really have to just let yourself be bored. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it's okay to be like that because when you're bored, there's like you're kind of just training your mind to have a better attention span. I feel, and so I feel like when once we kind of get into that autopilot mode, it's we can't really like fully appreciate things, and I guess that's one of my biggest points. A big part that has led to the growth of this kind of subconscious control over our minds is kind of like social media, I think. And I feel like that's kind of ironic putting this on a social media platform and then be kind of being like, yeah, social media is not too great. I feel like in some ways it definitely is, but it definitely needs to be regulated because if you don't regulate the amount of time that you're on this app, on this platform, even me, I've been trying to be better at it. You kind of just get lost, and before you know it, an hour, 2 hours, just in an instant, is just gone. And the thing is, you can never get that back. That's time that you spent doing this, and obviously, it's not always like that because it's not everything you're watching is just like random. And sometimes it's good to spend some time on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, whatever platform you use because or the most because to be honest, it's good to have a way to vent and to just calm down every once in a while. It's a very good thing, um, at least in my opinion. And I feel like a lot of the time people don't really slow down too. So I guess with that said, I would also say just slow down. You know, just like it's okay to be like it's better to be highly productive. You also got to remember that you can't just be fully productive. You need to take your time, calm down, and um that's kind of what it was on my mind. Yeah, I feel like some good ways to do that is just to get out into the world. I feel like in the past, people just put a lot more thought into everything they were doing. You think about it, people's jobs used to be much more dangerous than they are now, and some jobs are still dangerous. You think about it before they didn't have scaffolds or safety equipment and stuff like that, and people would be up there in skyscrapers just building, you know, and that's crazy to me because it makes me think like imagine those men, who went up in those buildings and were just working. Imagine how purposeful every step had to be so that they wouldn't fall, you know? Because that's just like, especially back then, there's nothing you can do if you fall from that height. Still, I mean, today it's the same, but that's my point. You had to be very, very careful. And I feel like that's something we've lost as we've gotten more comfortable in society. And again, like I said, it's good on one hand and not great on the other because it's like as much as we don't have to worry about physical threats as much, and also depending, of course, on where you live, um, you kind of also lose the appreciation for everything about you and in the little things, find joy in the little things because it's like we're just focused on this broad worldview right now. I feel that we don't really take time to really soak in everything around us. Um, Something I've tried to do a lot. Maybe in the next video or one day, I'll probably show everyone my room um, because it's just something I like to decorate. So when I'm looking around, all I'm thinking about are memories that I've made related to the things in my room, and it makes my room so much more special to me. I think, and it's just little things like that I encourage you to do because it's kind of like you're just taking a moment. And even if I'm in my own bed, not doing anything, or just laying down before I go to sleep, I can look around my room and just appreciate everything around me. And that's something that I think is very key to being happier. It's important to like just fundamentally have things to ground you, because as it's not so easy to become conscious or to regain consciousness as easy as it is to flip off to autopilot. I feel. I feel like if I just kind of tune out to everything around me, I could enter autopilot mode in like 5, 10 minutes after realizing where I'm at, you know? But like trying to like realize, consciously trying to stop yourself from being on autopilot is very hard, I believe. And just having things to ground you is very important. Like hobbies, another thing I want to talk about, can be something that grounds you a lot and keep you from, and make sure that you really enjoy every second, every moment, you know, making sure that you're actually paying attention, engaging, you know. And I know some of us aren't going to want to hear it, but teachers do it too. Um, sometimes you're with your friends, and being conscious isn't also the most comfortable thing, because we've all been there. We've all said things that we regret, and then we kind of just snap back into place, and we're like, "Why did I say that? Why did I act like that?" And that's kind of your brain, or kind of your conscious being like, "Yo, what's going on?" And kind of snapping you back to reality so you can kind of learn a lesson. Um, and like I said, lessons are in everything. Lessons are not just in what you do and what you watch other people do. You know, as kids, we watch our parents and learn from them. And that's a perfect example of what I mean by we learn from other people and other experiences. Um, so that's why it's important to be conscious, because as good as it is that our brain is able to do that and keep ourselves in check when we do something we regret, like, yo, what are you doing? Like, wake up, kind of. It's also important to stay conscious, stay alert, and realize everything going on around you so you can really decide what you think is important and learn some valuable lessons. That's basically all I wanted to talk about today. So thank you for entertaining me. And yeah, thanks. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow.